What if the great spiritual battle was never about light versus darkness? What if that was just the story we told ourselves because the real assignment felt harder to explain? The real assignment is much quieter, much more demanding, and far less dramatic. It is this: can you hold what is whole without collapsing? Because wholeness is not gentle. It contains contradictions, power, and vulnerability, clarity and confusion, love and tension, creation and destruction. To hold all of that in one body, in one mind, in one life, without fragmentation, that is the work. Some people learned to hold it, not perfectly, but steadily. They expand their capacity, they build inner coherence. They stop needing the world to constantly stabilize them. Over time, they become something rare, truly rare. Not powerful in the way we imagine power. Not dominant, not loud, but deeply stable. These are the quiet architect of reality, the sages, the one who can sit in chaos and not become chaotic, the ones who can feel intensity and not lose themselves in it, the one who can hold light without fearing it and face shadow without running from it. Not everyone can hold that. For some, wholeness is too much, too complex, too exposing, too demanding. And when the system cannot hold what is whole, it fragments. And fragmentation does something very specific. It looks for substitutions, artificial capacity. If I cannot hold reality internally, I will build external systems to hold it for me. Control, dominance, hierarchy, extraction. Not because people are evil, but because they are overwhelmed. Because they cannot metabolize the full weight of existence. And so they regulate through systems. And those systems require energy. So they take attention, they take labor, they take resources, they take identity, they take meaning. Extraction then becomes regulation instead of internal regulation. Not just economically, but psychologically and spiritually. And here is where it gets dangerous. Because the more fragmented the system is, the more it must extract. And the more it extracts, the more unstable it becomes because it was never built for such dynamics. So it builds buffers, narratives, identities, justifications, distractions, enemies, anything to avoid collapse. Because if the system stops extracting, it has to feel. Then things become real to it. And feeling means facing what it could not hold. And when extraction scales, buffers must scale as well. Such fragmentation needs small protection, as small fragmentation needs small protection. Large fragmentations need entire systems. Cultural system, economic systems, identity system, eventually absolutism. Total control, total narrative, total insulation from reality. At that point, the fight becomes visible. Not light versus darkness, but something far more precise. Fragmentation versus coherence, extraction versus integration, escaping the human condition versus becoming fully human. Because when fragmentation reaches its limit, something else appears. A desire not to fix the human experience, but to exit it. To redesign it, to control it, to transcend it. Not through wholeness, but through modification. And this is where extraction becomes exponential. And integration becomes rare. But there is another path, a quieter one, less dramatic, less visible, and infinitely more difficult. To build the capacity to hold what is whole. The prime directive that must be the purpose of it all. To feel without collapsing, to think without fragmenting, to exist without needing to extract. To stabilize internally instead of extracting externally. Because one path becomes addictive. It always needs more control, more energy, more validation, more extraction, and never stabilize. Because that is the trick of the condition. It is the trap built in the condition. But there is another path. The other path becomes symbiotic, but also whole. A paradox that must be. It gives back to life. It draws from life without consuming it. It stabilizes itself without requiring constant input. One becomes the internal architecture of what we call hell. Endless need, endless taking, endless instability, a thirst that was never meant to be quenched because it was never built to be such dynamic. The other becomes the quiet architecture of what we call heaven. Not a place, not a state. A state where nothing needs to be extracted because everything is already held. So the question was never, are you choosing light or darkness? The question is, can you hold what is whole without breaking into pieces? Because that is one of the real spiritual assignments.